welcome to Madeline's Life Management. Happy Tuesday. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I am going to be reading a bedtime story that I wrote this morning just because I thought it was something fun, something a little different. So anyway, let's get started. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful king and a beautiful queen, and this was what they were known for. As with most of these once upon a time stories, the most important job a king and queen had, while in a time of peace, was to produce an heir. The queen soon became pregnant, and the kingdom was in a flurry of excitement over the impending beautiful little prince or princess. But upon the birth of the princess, the king and queen had quite a shock, for the baby, though one day might grow to be beautiful, was quite an ugly thing. Convinced that this was just a phase, the king and queen went down to a nearby orphanage and, under the guise of wanting playmates for the new princess, selected the most beautiful little baby girls and brought them home. Now, over the many appearances that followed the princess's birth, the king and queen would select a different beautiful child for each event, all the while hoping their ugly duckling would become a swan. Due to the forever changing looks of the princess, not one person could truly describe her, so they simply said, "She's beautiful." Now, the king and queen's ruse lasted a bit longer than they first wagered, and it got to the point where the maids of the house forgot that the ugly little thing in their charge was really a princess. Due to never leaving the castle or even making an appearance at court, the little princess was entertained day in and day out by tutor after tutor and lesson after lesson. She not only learned to read and write, but battle strategy and, in the kitchen, how to make the perfect loaf of bread. Though the king and queen continued to be beautiful, they failed to be rich, which I suppose wouldn't be too big a problem if not for the current drought. Now, by the time the situation was truly dire, the princess and friends were about to turn 17, which just so happened to be the age of marriage currently in the kingdom. Now, the princess's beauty had become a point of interest to all the kingdoms, and like clockwork, suitors came in. In the past, the king and queen were able to get rid of them, saying that the princess is still too young, but now they had a problem on their hands. The true princess was now a well-skilled young adult, and though no one but the king and queen and a few trusted servants ever saw her, for she wore full coverings at all times. She saw the world. She was a member of every council and court held, and due to all her fake princess stand-ins, she was free to oversee or learn what she herself deemed important. Now the princess had grown incredibly wise and aware of the starvation situation in the kingdom, and her own status among the suitors. So she hatched a plan. Elsie, for this was the true princess's name, wrote to 13 of the most wealthy kingdoms in the world, and hoping her famous beauty would precede her, asked as a bride price, instead of an alliance, for her weight in gold in exchange for her hand in marriage. She explained that she would cut her ties completely to the homeland and acclimate to their culture, to the best of her ability, so that the kingdom would pay once for her famous beauty, and that would be their last responsibility to Elsie and her homeland. Now, when all a kingdom has to offer is beauty, and much to ask, giving all its beauty and in that its worth for a one-time payment would have seemed too good to be true, if not for the known drought situation in Elsie's kingdom. Now, it is important to mention that there were in fact 13 false princesses. So when all 13 kingdoms Elsie had written to responded immediately and eagerly, she was thankful she hadn't written to 14 instead. Elsie then held a private conference with her parents and a few trusted servants, for she always included those which normally went unnoticed, for they were the ears in the wall, and knew all the gossip and happenings of those who took no notice of them. The king and queen had thought their own princess very beautiful, but not because her appearance was anything like her flawless stand-ins, but rather the way she carried herself, her wisdom and grace. She was beautiful in the way she existed, in the way she was. The false princesses were overjoyed by the plan, for having one's only job to be more beautiful than your best friends is exhausting and unattainable. They were happy to be able to come out of hiding and use their skills to accomplish and become good wives and queens. Elsie designed the send-offs so it worked like a well-ticking clock. Each princess would stand on the scale until the gold matched her weight, then, very nobly, gave gracious goodbyes to her parents and kingdom. She then beautifully got on a boat and sailed away into her new life, where she no longer needed to play an unattainable part and might just be loved and needed for more than her looks. Not only was the kingdom now in no danger of starvation, but their coffers were full and they had a fortune. The king and queen announced that they were giving succession to a trusted advisor rather than their own blood for this advisor's plan and part in saving the kingdom. Elsie, for the first time, left her coverings behind and stepped out by her parents and was welcomed by her kingdom and the people she had saved. And because of this, she was the most beautiful princess they had ever seen. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday.